conservation groups have long distributed pictures of adorable stranded polar bears, such as this one right next to me, to convince people of the effects of climate change. People feel sorry for the polar bears and then join such groups and donate money.
However, new research can show that if climate change continues at this rate for the next few decades, it is our own survival at the hands of the polar bears that we should be concerned about.
Roughly 100,000 to 250,000 years ago, polar bears evolved from other bear species to fill the niche for a large Arctic marine predator. Since then, the polar bear, or Ursus maritimus, has developed a thick white coat, a strong swimming ability, and has adapted to feed by relying on the sea ice. Polar bears are now the largest land carnivores. Polar bears feed on harbor seals and ring seals that climb onto the sea ice or pop up from holes in the ice covering to breathe. However, they have been known to prey on large marine mammals such as walruses and belugas, leading scientists to believe that they can adapt easily to different forms of prey.
Polar bears are distributed around the polar regions, ranging to the edges of the Arctic Ocean ice pack. They are most abundant in shallow water areas near shore and in other areas where currents and upwellings increase productivity by bringing cold, nutrient-rich water to the surface. Their range is also limited to areas where sea ice cover remains for much of the year. This way they can continue to hunt seals while the ice remains. The breakup of sea ice marks the time when the polar bears come ashore for a 4-month fasting period known as walking hibernation. Unlike other bear species, polar bears do not hibernate completely. They are able to do this because they can slow their metabolism when food is scarce, such as in the summer when the ice cover is greatly reduced. During this time, they subsist on berries, grasses, and other vegetation. This is also the time of year during which polar bears have been known to wander into human towns. This is because the sea ice has been breaking up earlier than in previous years, so the bears have not had the required amount of time to accumulate their fat layer before entering walking hibernation.
The town of Churchill in Manitoba, Canada, has recently had polar bears visiting their town constantly, searching for food.
What's happened is we've had successive years now where the sea ice in the bay has melted much earlier, so bears are coming ashore earlier and in poor condition, and they're coming into town getting into trouble.
Right here. Wow, there's a couple of them here.
Polar bears mate in April, and then the pregnant females den in the fall after heavy feeding during late August and September. Polar bear females den only once every 3 years and usually have twins. The low reproductive rates of polar bears mean that in order to maintain population levels, there must be a very high rate of survival. Because of this, polar bears will go to desperate measures to survive, sometimes resorting to cannibalism, and maybe, in the future, eating human flesh.
In recent years, following the speed up of climate change, not only have hungry polar bears been wandering into human towns, they have been attacking tourists. Norwegian kayakers Sebastian Plur Nilsen and Ludvig Fjeld were on a trip to become the first team to paddle 1,250 miles around the Arctic archipelago of Svalbard, when suddenly Sebastian was dragged out of his tent by a polar bear with the animal's jaws clenched around his head. He fought for his life and was later saved by his partner Fjeld, who shot the bear with his rifle. Another similar but more tragic incident occurred on Svalbard when 17-year-old Horatio Chappell was killed by a polar bear and 4 others were critically injured on an expedition. According to the residents, this incident occurred because the polar bear was looking for food.
And very recently, on July 24th, a woman was attacked in northern Quebec by a polar bear when she stepped outside of her cabin. Her husband shot the bear and killed it, and though she suffered bites to her head and arms, she has been reported to be in a stable condition. Also, as a result of decreasing sea ice earlier in the year, suitable territory for polar bears is also decreasing. Because of this reduction in available land, the population density of polar bears is increasing. Hungry male polar bears are spending their time close to denning pregnant females. These females are more vulnerable to attacks, and there have been cases of male polar bears killing and then subsequently eating the female. If you cannot be inspired to act and help save the polar bears simply for the sake of saving these majestic creatures, maybe you can be motivated by the facts that hungry polar bears are wandering more and more south, and in some cases attacking humans and each other.
Here are some ideas for what you can do to reduce the rapid rate of climate change. Carpool.
Use solar panels.
Do not dump and store in drains.
Buy an energy-efficient car.
Change your light bulbs to CFCs.
Buy wood from sustainable forests.
Plant a tree.
Unplug an extra refrigerator or freezer that is not used much.
More tips at globalwarmingsolutions.org or go to polarbearinternational.org.
I'm Tara Takurta.
And I'm Catherine Necochea.
Thanks for watching.